cocoon bag they're selling. It's really something. I just got one. Want to see it? Are you really as beautiful as I imagine you are under that suit? Hi, do you need a partner to practice cocoon emergency procedures? Hi, do you need a sponge bath partner? And so forth. I do physical exams for free. Okay. He also discusses if once you do make the connection, of course, you want to develop the romance and various good recreational activities on Mars. The Mars Authority, their dome is pressurized to Earth sea level density, and of course Mars has 1/3 gravity of Earth. So in a full density atmosphere, it is possible to strap on wings and fly like a bird. Now, of course, it's also possible for chickens to fly like birds in a 1/3 G full atmosphere. And so they do, and have become quite a nuisance within the Mars Authority dome. And he talked about it being particularly enjoyable in view of his political inclinations to fly around the Mars Authority dome and herd the chickens to do their business over various more noxious Mars Authority personnel. And this is a good form of recreation. Talks about education. Okay. You know, if you've got a lot of money, you can send your kid to a private academy, and this, of course, is potentially a valuable investment because he'll meet other children of the rich there and make suitable connections. But this is expensive, and there's no resale value on the investment if it doesn't pay off. Slightly less risky investment is to buy an overpriced hab in an exclusive community and then send your kid to the school there, where he'll tend to meet other kids who are relatively well off, and at least in this case, you do have some resale value on your hab. But failing one of those two options, you want to do homeschooling, provided your child is well behaved. If not, just send them off wherever. Okay, and finally, he discusses politics itself and, well, actually how to avoid bureaucratic persecution from the Mars Authority and others, and the necessity for the eventual founding of the Free Martian Republic, which can write its own laws. And the opportunity that this affords for a new noble experiment, and that just as in colonial America, there was a desire to put into being certain ideals which had already been well enunciated in Europe, but which were typically viewed by educated Europeans as being, their adherents as being pleasantly insane. You know, that you're going to have freedom of the press that will lead to chaos. You're going to have freedom of religion that will lead to chaos. You'll have the common people be able to try each other that will lead to chaos. You'll have the common people be able to arm themselves. How can you exert authority against that? Clearly, we cannot have any of these things. And yet, here in America, this is what was put into action, and these ideals were realized. We had a noble experiment here, as they put it, and it worked. And so millions of people voted with their feet to come here in order to live in a society in which they had an opportunity to exercise greater aspects of their human potential than would be possible in the old world. Now, says, well, okay, you know, that worked for them, but there's still plenty of rights that have not been established on Earth, and others which have atrophied, and which we can establish here on Mars. And he names a few. He says, the right to self-government by direct voting, the right to access of all means of mass communication, the right to all scientific knowledge, the right to knowledge governmental activities, the right to be free of involuntary military service, the right to immigrate or emigrate, the right to education free of bureaucratic brainwashing, the right to practice any profession, the right to opportunity for useful employment, the right to initiate enterprises, the right to invent and implement new technologies, the right to build and develop natural resources and improve nature, the right to form families and have children without government interference, the right to a comprehensive legal system based on justice and equity, the right to be the right to be free from extortionate lawsuits, the right to privacy. This is a terrific list, don't you agree? He says. It says, a Martian civilization that offers these as fundamental rights, untouchable by government interference, will become a magnet to the dreams and hopes of millions. So that is exactly what we are going to do. Therefore, it has been decided that we are going to formalize these rights into a written charter that will serve as the fundamental legal articles of the Free Martian Republic and as an excellent immigrant recruiting advertising tool. As the planet's best-selling author, I've been given the task of drafting it. Here's how the opening line of my key section begins. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Catchy, isn't it? Thanks. So I'd be delighted to take questions either on what I've talked about or any other matter. Sir. Okay, how can the habitability of Mars be sustained given Mars's significant physical differences from the Earth, including the lack of plate tectonics and lower gravity, for example? Okay. The answer is through human action. Although the processes that the features that you're talking about would only cause Mars to lose its habitability over very long time scales. That is, for example, the Martian gravity is sufficient to hold an atmosphere for periods of hundreds of millions of years. And in fact, that's why it still has a residual atmosphere today, even after 4 billion years. So the e-folding time for diminishment of the Martian atmosphere is hundreds of millions of years. So we create an atmosphere on Mars, it would stay for a time scale well beyond that of human interest. Plate tectonics as well. Plate tectonics on the Earth only serves to recycle CO2 on a time scale of hundreds of millions of years. So the lack of plate tectonics, which is what has caused the CO2 in Mars's atmosphere to be taken out one way, well, at least initially, and then it got so cold that stuff started absorbing in the soil, and which is easily reversible by warming. But then once you had a warm planet with a water cycle, you would have CO2 form carbonate rock again. But this occurs slowly. And it diminishes the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over periods of hundreds of millions of years, which, first of all, is long compared to human interest and could easily be countered by human action. In the back. Okay, that really is a very interesting question. The question is really, why settle Mars when there are uninhabited places on the surface of the Earth, such as Antarctica, that would clearly be much easier to settle than Mars? Or even, one could put floating colonies on the ocean. Okay, and yet, it is quite interesting, isn't it, that the human settlement of space, whether Mars or those people who are interested in the moon, but of space in general,